Richard Jefferson said Duncan is still on the fringe of Tim Duncan being a first ballot Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Larkins, does he have a point that he's on the fringe of being a Hall of Fame?
No, Richard Jefferson is utterly ridiculous. And I want to say this too. I think Richard Jefferson has some type of beef with Tim Duncan in some kind of capacity, because I was watching on Get Up a few months ago. He was having a conversation with Jay Williams and Mike Greenberg. And Jay Williams was talking about Tim Duncan, and Richard Jefferson said the same thing, kind of like that Tim Duncan has been carried throughout the course of his career. So I don't know if he has some type of personal beef or something with Tim Duncan, but Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward of all time. Make no mistake about it. I love Kevin Garnett and what Kevin Garnett was able to accomplish in his career. Kevin McHale, back in the day, he was an outstanding player at the power forward position. We all know the greatness of Karl Malone and his battles with MJ when Utah was going up against Chicago in the 90s. But I believe when you talk about the greatest power forwards of all time, I think Tim Duncan deserves to be at the top of that list. We're talking about a 5-time NBA champion, 3-time finals MVP, 2-time NBA MVP overall, 15-time All-Star, and not to mention defensively, he was one of the best defensive players in NBA history. He's an 8-time All-Defensive player. I think Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward of all time. No questions asked. And I believe Richard Jefferson is smoking on something. I would like to know what he's smoking on, because whatever it is, it's got him saying some crazy things on air. He should be ashamed of himself. He should be ashamed of himself making these comments.
I actually agree with you right there. I can't believe I'm agreeing with you, because we don't really agree a lot. But why? I don't know what made him just decide just to say these type of craziness, like say he's on the fringe. We're talking about one of the greatest power forwards of all time. And let me like, he's a walking double-double. He's the all-time leader blocks, and not in the playoffs. He's a top 5 with double-doubles. Like, it's just ridiculous for him to say that comment, to just disrespect him. Now, if we could have been talking about Dirk Nowitzki, he is a Hall of Famer. I don't know. He's a Hall of Famer, or Chris Webber, whatever. I can understand with them, but this is Tim Duncan. Duncan that actually was a leader to his team, with or without the ball. His coaching to the game, his IQ to the game was just out the window, out the door. Something that you'll love about him, because his love for the game. And for Richard Jefferson to say this, I don't believe that he's like honest about what he's saying. And that includes me to my next question with you. Do you believe the Spurs' success was a team contributor to Tim Duncan's success as a player?
No, I think Tim Duncan's success as a player was because of the greatness of Tim Duncan. I do love the Spurs organization, and I love Gregg Popovich as a head coach. You know this. Like, we know Gregg Popovich is one of the greatest coaches in NBA history, and I think he's going to go down as being, one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time. But I believe the reason why the Spurs had their success the way they did wasn't because of Manu Ginobili, wasn't because of Tony Parker. They contributed. They had a big helping hand in the Spurs' overall success, and also with Gregg Popovich. But I think the reason why the San Antonio Spurs had the successes they have had was because of the greatness of Tim Duncan, more so than anyone else in that organization. And that's a top-notch organization, Clarence. That's one of the best organizations that we have in pro sports. From a professional standpoint and doing things the right way, the Spurs are at the top of that list as far as sports goes. But I think Tim Duncan was the greatest power forward of all time, and I think he was the reason why the Spurs were championship contenders year in and year out.
I just believe, like regardless, this is I feel like for Gregg Popovich at the time, they was the New England Patriots at the time when they was successful, like basically under 2014 in my opinion, they was like dominant, like super dominant. They've been dominant for like over the course year. And this is the first time in 23 years that Gregg Popovich might miss the playoffs. It's the first time in 23 years. That is a long time, Trey. That just consistency, like perception, like it just ridiculous of hard work that Gregg Popovich is bringing to this organization. And they just so upfront that everything is made to be perfect. And Gregg Popovich, he's a great teacher, and he's a straightforward teacher that just will just tell you how things is, and he will want you to get better. He don't want you down. He will want you to get better, and he wants to see the good in you. But if you don't see the good in yourself, then you're just gonna stop yourself from being good. Some stuff he'll probably just say, like, it's ridiculous, man. Like, Gregg Popovich, well-respected coach in the NBA. Now, he's a definitely first ballot Hall of Famer, like Hall of Famer coach right then and there. As soon as he retired, they better have that paper ready for him, man.
I got something I want to say real quick, but I'm gonna hold that thought. I want to ask you a quick question. Are you saying that Tim Duncan's success as a player was more about the San Antonio Spurs organization or was it more about Tim Duncan, the player?
I think it was more of Tim Duncan as the player because he was a skilled big man, and I felt like they just like absorb his gameplay to the game of basketball, and when they see him having success in his game, they start having success in their game because he opened up the floor for other players to play their game, and he helped players elevate. He basically elevated his teammates. Like that was something that he brought to the team. He brought a leadership. I want to play basketball. I'm not that type of guy that showboat this and that. Hey, I want to win. I want to come in day and day. I want to work hard, even if I gotta come in 30 days straight to get better. Work on the free throw. He came and did it. He came in, worked hard, and gave some hard work to that Spurs organization. And I believe like that's how they won their championships, off of his vibe to the game, his feeling to the game. Like, and he was a legit leader. Like this
I agree with
Tim
that.
Duncan.
I agree with that. I actually had an argument with my cousins a few weeks ago, and they were telling me about Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. And I think Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker both were good. I never thought they were. I think Manu Ginobili had some great moments in the playoffs, and he had some big time shots. But I never looked at Tony Parker or Manu Ginobili as being the number one option on a championship team. I think that was more so about Tim Duncan. But I want to say something real quick. I don't know if I want to ruffle some feathers here when I say this. I give more credit to Bill Belichick and what he did with the Patriots, winning 6 Super Bowls with Tom Brady, than I give Bill Belichick and I give Gregg Popovich for winning his titles with Tim Duncan. Let me say that one more time. I give more credit to Bill Belichick and what he was able to do as a head coach for winning Super Bowls with the New England Patriots than I give Gregg Popovich with the San Antonio Spurs. And I'm going to tell you why. I think in football, you have to be an overseer as a head coach. Not only do you have to manage egos and personalities, you have to manage offense, defense, special teams, and so many different parts that you have to manage being a head coach in the NFL. In the NBA, if you have a legitimate star or two, you can ride the curtails of that star or two to some championships. It was some coaches that have won some championships in the NBA that have had players that carried them to the championship. So I'm not taking away from Gregg Popovich. We know Gregg Popovich, 5-time NBA champion as a head coach, 3-time NBA coach of the year. Gregg Popovich is one of the greatest coaches in NFL in NBA history. Like, period. Don't make no mistake about it. But what I'm saying is I give more credit to Bill Belichick for what he was able to accomplish with the Patriots than I give Gregg Popovich for what he was able to accomplish with the Spurs. To that, you say what?
I'm gonna just say this. Before we move on. Let me keep it short because this is an interesting topic. This is a great, interesting topic we should discuss in the future. But my thing is this. I seen Gregg Popovich took his best player out and put in some players that he believed that can make a stop and win the game. Now, that right there is coaching. That's just right there, a coaching ability. You take your best player out. I seen him numerous of times. He took Kawhi Leonard out. He took Tony Parker out. He took Tim Duncan out. And he always somehow left Manu Ginobili in there because he was a good facilitator. Like, he was a good facilitator, Manu Ginobili. I love Manu. But the thing is, when he took out his best players, he believed in his next players to get the job done, and which I see him did and have success with it. And I just think for Belichick he's one of the best, greatest game planners of all time. Like the study junkie, that man right there is a study junkie. Because one thing for sure and two for certain, he's definitely looking at every piece of thing on film of the team he got to play in the upcoming week. That's right there. Like, it's like if he knows that this is a great pass rush team, all he gonna do is, hey, we're gonna run down their throat. We're gonna attack the middle of the run game, and we're just gonna keep pounding it until the sides open up. And right there, that's just brilliant. And I really gotta agree with you. I definitely gotta agree with you on this one because Belichick, he can game plan like crazy, man.
And with the Patriots, their game plan changed every week. 1 week, you might have saw them running the football with James White and Sonny Michel. Then the next week, you would have seen Tom Brady. You'll see Tom Brady throwing the ball for over 40 times. Their game plan changed every single week, and they made adjustments.
And then I seen like Gregg Popovich also too. Like it been times like matter of fact, that first year they played Miami Heat. They had Gary Neal come in, like first foul of the game. He was coming in sub because he felt like he was a good deep threat shooter, and he was effective in that series. And for Danny Green, he had him specialty. Like, hey, run around with Ray Allen. If Ray Allen get hit with a screen, you make sure you kick out to D-Wade because he's going to drive to you. That's right there. That's just like coaching strategies right there. Like knowing where to be and knowing where to go. And I just think for these two coaches, man, like they are successful coaches that know how to game plan for their opponent. But Belichick, he's killed it with game plan. He can know we a passing threat. He'll say, hey, we're gonna play zone and the secondary all day. No man coverage because they like throwing it to the right. Like some stuff like that, Trey. Crazy stuff like that.
One thing we can all agree on: Gregg Popovich and Bill Belichick, they're one of a kind. They are two of the greatest coaches in their respective sports in sports history. Period.